DreAllDay.com.
Would you follow you? It's a good question. And being that we've been talking about leadership in the last couple episodes of this show, this is a question that you need to ask yourself when it comes to whether you are a fit for a leadership position. Because if you want other people to follow you, then we should start with the person in the mirror and ask yourself, just based on the way you show up, based on the energy that you bring every day, based on who you see when you look in the mirror, would you follow yourself as a leader? Would you even want to get behind yourself and say, okay, this is a person I can get behind. This is a person I can follow. This is a person who I can model what I'm doing after them. Do you even fit your own description? And that's a question you should ask yourself. And the good news is I'm going to give you some questions here today that you can ask yourself to go even deeper than what I just said, and that you need to answer for yourself to know if the answer is yes, you would follow yourself, which means you're qualified to lead others, or if the answer is anything other than yes. Remember what we talked about is either hell yes or it's no. And that means you need to make some adjustments, or you just shouldn't be leading anyway. All right? But this is up for you to decide. I'm going to ask you the questions. You're going to provide the answers. Let's get into it. Point number one. Today's topic, once again, is would you follow you? Number one, do you trust that having you as a leader would lead to success? Do you trust that having you as a leader would lead to success? Just yesterday, I did an episode where I took to task a former NBA player by the name of Tracy McGrady, who made some ridiculous statements about how if he had been on the same team with certain other players who played at the same time as he, that he would have been a more successful player and had a more successful career. And he posed the ridiculous question of, is it my fault, being sarcastic, that he did not achieve certain levels of results? And for Tracy McGrady, the answer to this first question is a resounding no. No. He does not trust that having him as a leader leads to success, because he was a leader. And instead of just saying, you know what, I didn't deliver the way that I wanted to deliver during my basketball career, had he said that, I would have respected it. I mean, his career is over, so now he can go back and play. He could just say, look, I could have been a better player. I could have been a better leader. My teams should have done more with me at the helm. He would have said that, it wouldn't even been a story. But the fact that he came out with these hypotheticals and, oh, well, why am I getting diminished? Is it my fault that I didn't have the opportunity? Yes, it's your fault. And yes, you get diminished because you didn't win. Sports is about winning, folks. It's about the result. The result is what's on the scoreboard. And on the scoreboard, you ain't look too good. And if you own that, then you have the potential for success. If you don't own it, then you don't have the potential for success. So this is my question I'm asking all of you. Does having you as a leader, is that a path to success? Venture capitalists, these are people who give large sums of money, it's not even small sums, to companies to basically fund their business operations when they're first starting out. And if the company ends up blowing up, let's think of a company like Uber or Shopify. If this company blows up and you invested in them early, you make a whole bunch of money when they become 100 times bigger than they were. It's been said that these venture capitalists, when they're deciding whether or not to invest in a company that's looking for money, let's say a company comes up, you all seen a TV show like Shark Tank, and the guy says, well, I value my company at $1 million. We're looking for someone to invest $500,000 for 50% of the business. And a venture capitalist, if they decide they want to give the money, because let's say this company now becomes a $100 million company, you own half of it, you put in a $500,000 investment, but now you are able to take $50 million out of it because you invested for 50% of the company when it was small. Now it's worth 100 times more. You make 100x on your money. That's what venture capital is in simple terms. And also you're gambling, because not every company does this. Some companies go to zero and you lose your money. When a venture capitalist is looking at a company and deciding whether or not to invest money, this is how they decide. They don't decide based on whether the product or business will necessarily succeed, because you never really know. If it was that easy, then we would all be doing it. Everybody will always be making money if we could guarantee what's going to work and what's not going to work. What venture capitalists are looking for in a CEO, because they're looking at the leaders. Anytime they invest in a company, they're looking at who's leading the company. And they're looking for a CEO, not someone who has all the answers and not somebody who knows everything, because those things are also impossible, because there are questions that you don't even know are going to be asked. And there are things to know that you don't even know that you're going to need to know tomorrow. They're looking for someone who is magic waiting to happen. Venture capitalists are looking at CEOs and say, who seems formidable? Who seems to have some presence? Who's a person who just looks like they're going somewhere? They feel like a leader. They're the type of person that galvanizes others to follow. And the venture capitalist is looking at that CEO and saying, I would follow this person. You know what? I'll give this person my money. So some of you may think that a world like venture capital, where millions of dollars get thrown around every day, you would think that they have some type of measuring system that is highly, what's the word? Has a whole lot of mathematical equations in it and a big computer coded spreadsheet that makes sense of everything based on some specific measurements that you would need an engineering degree to calculate. You would be 100% wrong. They make their decisions based on emotions and gut feelings and instinct, probably more than people who are dealing with a lot smaller sums of money. Why? Because they're human, and humans like to invest in people who they feel like, keyword feel like, are going somewhere. People who they feel like are going to make something happen. Person who gives off the energy that, yes, we're going to run into a problem, but I'll figure it out. And we're going to go somewhere. We're going to make this happen. In other words, they're looking for a person whose presence galvanizes others to follow. Their presence, not your resume, not your calculations, not the quality of your product. Your presence galvanizes other people to move. If you're that type of person, then you are qualified to lead. And if you believe that about yourself, then other people will believe it about you. That qualifies you as a leader. That right there. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is would you follow you? Number 2, can other people rest assured that because you are the leader, you will solve all the problems and fill all the gaps? This was just discussed yesterday in detail. Remember what I told you about being a leader. It is your job to solve the problems. What problems, Dre? Any problem. Any and all problems that come up is your job to solve them when you're the leader. Now, you may not know what the problems will be. Now, there are certain problems that you will know about because they eventually are going to happen. If you're the leader of a business, for example, eventually somebody is going to call in sick. If you're running a company and you have female employees, eventually somebody's going to get pregnant and need maternity leave. If you're running a company and you have staff who have kids, eventually one day a kid's going to be sick for 2 days and that staff member won't be at work for 2 days. These things are inevitable to happen. So those are some of the problems that you can anticipate occurring. But there are other problems that you don't even know are going to happen, and they're going to happen. Your job as the leader, if you are truly a leader, is to see the problem before it happens, number 1, and prepare for those ones. And then the other thing that you're going to do as a true leader is you're going to be poised and calm and confident, knowing that when a problem that you didn't anticipate happens, you will figure it out and you'll know what to do. And that's a way that you can let the rest of the team rest assured, because they know that you are going to figure it out no matter what occurs, even if you don't know what's going to occur. That's dealing with the unknown. And a lot of people don't want to deal with these unknowns. They don't want to be in a position where these unknowns could accost them and they're going to have to deal with it, because a lot of people just don't feel confident enough in themselves that whatever happens, I'll know what to do. But a leader, whatever happens, they'll know what to do. They don't even know what it's going to be. They don't know what it's going to be either. But they have so much confidence in themselves. They have so much poise in themselves that when something happens, they know they'll figure it out. And everybody else on the team doesn't have to worry about figuring it out, because they're just looking at you. They just wait for you to tell them what to do, because you're going to figure it out. That's the requirement of a leader. If you're going to be a leader, this is the position that you need to take. This is the posture that you have to have as a leader. Now, again, this doesn't mean you know anything. You don't have any more information than anybody else has. You don't have some secret stash of information or some secret phone number to where there's some Wizard of Oz that can answer all your questions. No. This is just a mentality. This is just a way of being. This is a way of living that you just know that whatever happens, you're going to figure it out. This is why proverbially and hopefully literally they pay you the big bucks, because they know that you know that they know you're going to figure it out. And therefore, what do? You hold yourself accountable to figuring things out. It is your job to solve problems when you're a leader. That means looking at the landscape of the organization or the group that you have, figuring out what's missing or what is needed, and then figuring out how to supply it. Whether you need to go get it, whether you need to become it, whatever it is. Or how to succeed despite the reality that you don't have everything that you might want. Now, this is your job. I mentioned Michael Jordan in the last episode. I mentioned in many episodes of this show. I did a whole virtual mentors on Michael Jordan's episode. I haven't done too many of those. Michael Jordan is one who made it. And the Michael Jordan Virtual Mentors episode was episode 1217, one of my favorites to record. I need to listen back to it myself, as a matter of fact. In his last season with the Chicago Bulls, the 1997-98 season, his teammate, Scottie Pippen, who many of you have heard of, he was the number 2 guy on the Chicago Bulls. Scottie missed a significant amount of time in that last season because he had an injured, I believe it was his foot. I believe he had injured his foot in the previous season or in the off season, and he basically didn't have surgery on his foot until it was very close to the season. So he missed a significant amount of time before he actually got on the court with the team. So the Bulls were without their number 2 best player to start that season. And even though Michael Jordan's the man, the NBA is still the NBA. So just having one guy and not having your other guys, plural, one guy is not that good to beat the whole league. You still need a team to win a championship. And during that time that Scottie Pippen was not playing, the Bulls started to get off to a little bit of a rocky start, but Michael Jordan found a way. And again, you watch the documentary about the Bulls, you see this season being documented. Michael Jordan found a way to get his teammates galvanized and get them moving to play at the level he needed them at. He stepped his own level up at the same time because he was not going to let his team not succeed just because somebody else wasn't there. Just because the number 2 guy wasn't there, Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan was not going to let that team faltering go on his track record. That's the mindset of a leader. Yes, we don't have our second best player. And yes, having the second best player will make things a lot easier for everybody because in the team space, when one person is not playing their role, they're removed. Now everybody else has to shift up a seat in the hierarchy. Now you're asking people to play a little bit above their pay grade, and they might not be capable of doing it. But Michael Jordan did not allow that to be an excuse for his team to falter. His team was still successful. The Bulls still won 62 games, I believe, that last season of the Bulls dynasty. Generally speaking, for those who are basketball fans or those who are not, in an 82-game basketball season, if a team wins over 60 games, they are generally considered a championship contender. 62 games is contender status, and the Bulls won over 60 games each of those last 3 seasons with Michael Jordan, especially in that last season was most impressive simply because they didn't even have their number 2 guy. And this is a team that's very tired on dead legs because they were playing 3 straight years of playing damn near 100 games a season, where everybody else was finished their summer in May. The Bulls weren't finished until late June. Now, if you don't want to deal with all this stuff that I'm talking about, you also have that option. It just means you're not the leader. You don't have to do any of these things I'm talking about. You can become what I call the role player. We talked about this. The role player is the person who can show up to work at 9 a.m. You can clock out of work at 5 p.m. and completely forget about your job till your next work shift. So when you clock out at 5 p.m. on Friday, you don't have to think about work again until 9 o'clock on Monday. If that's what you want to be, that's completely fine. It does not make you a bad person. It just means you're not the leader. That's all it means. These are the rank and file followers. These are your employees. And this is a choice as to which one you want to be. You can be the leader, you can be the follower. But it is a choice. Okay? The leader's job is to make the job of the rank and file simple. See, the reason why the person who's the rank and file staff member can clock out at 5 p.m. and not think about work again until 9 a.m. the next workday is because the leader is thinking about the job the entire time to make it as easy as possible for the rank and file people to only have to think about it from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. If you work a 9 to 5 job and you only think about your job while you're at work, you listening to this right now, the reason you can do that is because there is some leader somewhere in that organization who is always thinking about the job such that it is easy for you to not think about the job. That's the way it works. The leaders make the job of everybody else easy because you only got to do what's prescribed to you. Again, in sports, we call these the role players. In the professional work world outside of sports, we call these people employees. The rank and file is also what they're called. The follower's job rarely changes. The leader's job is always, the leader doesn't have a job. The leader has a dynamic role. All right, whatever the team needs is what you do when you're a leader. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is would you follow you? This is a question. Number 3, are you willing to assume leadership in a situation that does not have a clear solution or an easy answer? Are you willing to assume leadership in a situation that does not have a clear solution or an easy answer? You see, being a leader is easy when everything is spelled out, laid out, and safely designed for success. If everything is spelled out, laid out, and it's easy for you to just color in the little boxes like a coloring book for kids, then it's easy to be the leader. All right, you can't possibly mess up. And if you do mess up, it's probably because the system is messed up, not because you did anything wrong. Anybody can be a leader in those situations. One of the reasons why we see so many, for example, you hear people talking about there are more women stepping into leadership roles these days in like the corporate space and the academic space. The reason why this is happening is not because all of a sudden women just became more talented. And it's also not because of the reason that you hear many people say, which is women always had this talent to lead. They just never had the opportunity. That's actually not the reason. That's the good sounding reason, but it's not the real reason. The real reason why you see more women in leadership positions today is because there is no inherent danger, so to speak, in being a leader these days. Look at the places where women are stepping into leadership positions. It is not they're stepping into a place where there is a ton of uncertainty, or there's a bunch of problems that don't seem easily solvable, or there's a bunch of things that are really big issues that don't have simple answers, that the woman is just all of a sudden, the woman is just coming in there and she's just figuring things out that the men can never figure out. That's not happening. Women are stepping into leadership positions in places in which the problems have already been solved. The systems are already in place. And now they just need a figurehead at the top. They say, oh, let's just put a woman in place. And they put a woman up there and they're like, then people say, oh, look at a woman leading. She's running that organization. Look how well the organization is doing. Well, the organization is doing well because of the system that is in place, not because of the leader that's in place. That would apply to a man as well. But if you can pander to women by saying, look at the woman running this organization that's doing well, then it's a feather in the cap for diversity, equity, and inclusion. When the woman being in place has nothing to do with the success of the company. Anybody can run the company as long as they can fucking read and write. This is what's happening in a lot of bureaucratic organizations where they're touting women leadership. Women are not coming in there and doing anything unique or different. All they're doing is following the system that was already left for them. But nobody will tell you that outside of a place like this. You can't go into any bureaucracy and say something like this. You'll get chased out of the building. But everything is generally safe these days. The structures have already been built. They've already been tested. They've already been improved. And any failing company is moved to fire a woman as easily as they would fire a man. So a woman stepping into a leadership position is stepping into a no-lose proposition. Excuse me. So when I said a failing company would not fire a woman as easily as they would fire a man, let me make sure I'm saying that clearly. They wouldn't fire them the same way. A man is running a company as CEO and the company's failing, they'll fire the man very easily. But a woman is running it and they start failing, they're not going to fire the woman so easily. This is the reason why you see women stepping into companies that are doing pretty well already. So she can't possibly fail because the company's doing pretty well. Just don't fumble the ball, you're good. You don't have to make any tough decisions. What tough decisions? We already made all the tough decisions. This is why the company is so successful. All right, let's put a woman in charge. And then we can give her credit for stuff that that the men already built. This is what's happening, by the way. So women are stepping into no-lose propositions. So when someone says more women are stepping into leadership positions as if this is some reflection of all of a sudden women have increased capabilities or more people are recognizing women as leaders, that's bullshit. That is wrong on both fronts. That's not the real reason. When it comes to anyone leading, the true test of leadership, ladies and gentlemen, is not you stepping into a situation that's already set to be successful and you just continuing the success. You didn't do anything. I remember when the Dallas Cowboys won championships in the mid-90s in the NFL. They had a head coach named Jimmy Johnson who was really good. Jimmy Johnson gets fired because he ran into a power struggle with the owner of the team, a guy by the name of Jerry Jones, who still to this day, as of this recording, still owns the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones replaced Jimmy Johnson with a guy named Barry Switzer. Now, Barry Switzer was, I think, for all intents and purposes, especially those of you who are hardcore football fans, Barry Switzer was nowhere near the same caliber of coach as Jimmy Johnson. However, Barry Switzer was able to take that same Cowboys unit and win a championship. How was he able to win a championship? Is it because Barry Switzer came in there with some revolutionary new way of doing things? No. Barry Switzer took over a team that was already a championship team. All he did was not fumble the ball, literally. He didn't fumble the ball. Dallas won another championship. All he had to do was not mess it up. The situation was already in place. And the story is that when he came in as the coach to that team, he said to the players, he said, look, you guys already know how to win a championship. I'm going to be standing on the sideline. I'm going to make it look like I'm doing something. I'm not really going to do anything. Y'all just go out there and do what you know how to do. Now, if we lose 2 games in a row, then I'm going to start doing things and start telling y'all to do things my way. As long as we never lose 2 games in a row, y'all can do things the way you want to do it, and I'll generally stay out of your way. You do your thing. Y'all professionals do it. And as long as the Cowboys were winning, that's exactly what Barry Switzer did. Now, it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek story, but I believe it. He didn't have to mess it up. I would have did the same thing if I was coaching the Dallas Cowboys. All right, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, y'all just Troy Aikman, go win the game. Y'all know what to do. I'm going to stand on the sideline and make it look like I'm barking out orders, but I'm not really saying anything. Just do what you need to do and win the damn games. Don't make me look bad. Y'all lose 2 games in a row, now I got to start coaching. All right, don't make me start coaching. Leadership, folks, is when you step into a situation that is not easy to figure out, and it has a whole bunch of problems that are not easily solvable, and answers are not colored by numbers, and you fix that one. That's when you're a true leader. Now, you show me where somebody's doing that in business. That's the true leader. The uncertainty that doesn't have a guaranteed answer, that's when we find out that you're a true leader. Now, you show me who's doing that. Okay? You're not just going along for an easy ride. You're not Barry Switzer. And I'm not mad at you for taking the easy ride, but don't compare yourself to someone who is not taking the easy ride. All right, that's the thing that you got to ask yourself. Which one are you? Yesterday, we were talking about Tracy McGrady, who was saying, well, if I was on the same team as Shaq, I probably would have won some championships. I wouldn't make it sound that simple. A lot of basketball fans try to make it sound like, oh, if you put this guy on this team, they're guaranteed to win a championship. No championship is guaranteed at the professional level of sports because the players are too good and the competition is too high. But there are other players who are in the NBA. There was another guy named Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan was a guy who was a lot less outspoken than Tracy McGrady. You don't see him doing interviews and this nonsense you see a lot of players doing these days. And Tim Duncan was around the same age bracket as Tracy McGrady and in the league at the same time. And he was actually signed with Adidas, the sneaker brand, at the same time as Tracy McGrady. And Tim Duncan was also never on the same team as Shaquille O'Neal. But you know what Tim Duncan did? He won 5 championships in the same time frame that Shaquille O'Neal was in the NBA. He won 5 championships in the same conference as Shaquille O'Neal. And they went against each other a bunch of times. And sometimes Shaq won, and sometimes Tim Duncan won. Sometimes Tim Duncan was going against Shaq and Kobe. And there were times where he went against Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant, and he beat both of them. 1999, he beat both of them. And they lost. Then the Lakers won 3 in a row. Then in 2003, Tim Duncan beat both of them. Again, then Shaquille O'Neal was off of the Lakers. He went somewhere else. And Tim Duncan went against both of those guys and beat both of them. Where Tracy McGrady talking about, well, I wish I could be on the team with him. There's levels to this shit, folks. Let's recap today's class. Would you follow you? Again, we're talking about leadership here. These are questions you should ask yourself to find out if you're fit to lead. Number 1, do you trust that having you as a leader will lead to success? All right, when you look at yourself in the mirror and say, if everybody follows me, we'll be good. Do you believe that? Number 2, can other people rest assured knowing that because you're the leader, you'll solve all the problems and fill all the gaps? Can everybody else know that anything they can't figure out, you'll figure it out? And number 3, are you willing to assume leadership in a situation that does not have clear solutions or easy answers, yet it has a ton of problems? See, that's when you know you're a true leader. You take over something that looks like a shit opportunity and you turn it into a winning opportunity. You don't become a champion in life until you're in a situation that looks like a loss and you turn it into a win. That's a true leader. How do you answer to those questions? While you think about it, you don't answer immediately, but while you think about it, I want you to go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. I want you to schedule a time to talk to us so that we can talk about where you're at, where you want to go, what you feel like is in your way, and where you want to be, so that we can map out and work with you on how we get from here to there with your mind in the right place, the right strategies in place, the right system that leads to actual results. That's all at workonyourgameuniversity.com with me as your coach. Work on your game. Dre all